In the icy grip of a harsh winter, Nolan, a local mechanic, spotted a dog shivering alone near his workshop. Its fur matted with frost, the dog seemed frozen in place, unresponsive to Nolan's coaxing. Concerned for its well-being, Nolan cautiously approached, realizing the animal wasn't just stuck in the snow. As he cleared the snow around the dog, Nolan's heart raced when he uncovered the reason for its immobility, prompting an urgent call to 911. Welcome to Wonderbot Animals. Nolan stretched out his hand to pet the dog, but it immediately started growling, showing its teeth. It eventually even barked, and Nolan realized that he needed to think of a different approach. Either way, he was not going to give up. He needed to help this poor dog. After numerous attempts, Nolan finally managed to win the dog's trust, and that was when he realized what was really going on. As he petted the dog, it moved to the side just a little bit, revealing what was lying underneath it. And then Nolan understood that this dog wasn't stuck. It was guarding something. Nolan could not believe what he was seeing, and he immediately grabbed his phone to call 911. They needed to get here immediately before it was too late. But what did Nolan see? What was underneath the dog? And why did it make him call 911? Nolan looked surprised when he heard the doorbell of his shop ring. It was snowing outside, and even though his shop was open, he had not had a single customer that day. He had just been working on some things and didn't even expect anyone to come in. But he was wrong. "Welcome, how can I help you?" he asked the woman who had just walked in. "Hello, sir. I hope I'm not interrupting. Are you very busy at the moment?" she asked, and Nolan stopped what he was doing and walked over to her. "No, I have time. What can I do for you?" he replied, expecting the woman to have come in regarding some car trouble. However, the real reason she needed help was going to be a lot more interesting. Would you mind helping me out with something?" "I was just on a walk in the area, and I came across a dog that seemed to be stuck in the snow. I tried luring it out of there, but it won't budge. And quite frankly, I am a bit scared of dogs." "Could you come and take a look with me?" she asked. Nolan thought about it for a second, but it was an easy decision. First of all, he loved dogs and he used to feed some strays that wandered around in the area. And second of all, it was snowing and nobody else was going to come in anyway. It would be fine if he closed the shop for a few minutes. "Of course, let me grab my coat," he told the woman, and immediately she breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you. I really didn't want to leave it there all by itself, but I didn't know what else to do. I was so lucky to find your shop," she replied. Minutes later, they made their way through the snow, and Nolan followed the woman closely. They had been walking for only a couple of minutes when she pointed her finger toward an odd shape in the snow and said, "Right there, that's it." Nolan gasped when he finally spotted it and realized that if this woman hadn't pointed at it, he would never have seen it. The poor animal was practically buried under the snow. "Oh no, it must be freezing," he yelled out, and he ran towards it. He was determined to help the dog and get it to a dry and warm place, but he soon realized that this was going to be a lot more difficult than he thought. As soon as he approached the dog, it started growling at him. Luckily, Nolan wasn't scared of dogs and he knew how to handle them. While the woman kept her distance, Nolan slowly and carefully took a few more steps towards the dog while he softly spoke to it. However, it didn't work because the dog now also started showing its teeth. Eventually, it even barked at Nolan, and he realized that he needed to try a different approach. "I told you, it's not very approachable. I don't know what's wrong with it. Maybe it's sick," the woman mused. Nolan replied, "I have no idea, but I'm not going to let it just sit there. It's freezing, and it is only going to get colder tonight. It looks like it's been there for a while, so it must be hungry." And then he thought of a plan. He turned back to the woman and asked her, "Do you happen to have any food with you right now?" But the woman shook her head. Nolan remembered that he still had a chicken sandwich at work, and he immediately knew what to do. "I have to go back to the shop to grab something, but I'll be right back. Can you stay here and keep an eye on it?" He could see that the woman was scared, and she probably would have preferred to say no, but instead she nodded and tightened her scarf. Just like Nolan promised, he already returned only minutes later, and he had brought the chicken sandwich with him. "Surely, this will have to do the job," he said as he unwrapped the sandwich. Nolan approached the shivering dog, clutching the chicken sandwich. The aroma of the food wafted through the cold air, but the dog remained motionless, its eyes wary. "It's okay, buddy," Nolan whispered gently, extending his hand with the sandwich. Despite his coaxing, the dog didn't budge, as if an invisible barrier held it in place. Nolan's brow furrowed in concern, but his resolve didn't waver. The dog sat like a statue, its fur rimmed with frost. Nolan knelt beside it, sandwich in hand, hoping the scent would entice the wary animal. However, the dog merely glanced at the offering before turning away, disinterested. Nolan's heart sank a little more. The dog's indifference to food, something most strays couldn't resist, deepened his worry about its well-being in this harsh winter. Nolan sat back on his heels, still holding the sandwich. He pondered over the dog's refusal to eat. "You must be starving," he muttered. He had always believed in the power of kindness, even in the face of adversity. The dog's resilience, albeit puzzling, only strengthened his determination to help. Nolan knew he couldn't just walk away. This was more than just a stray dog in need. Undeterred, Nolan edged closer, sandwich outstretched. Yet, the dog recoiled slightly, its gaze fixed on something unseen. "What's wrong, boy?" Nolan asked, concern lacing his voice. The cold air bit at his skin, but he barely noticed it, his attention wholly on the dog. It was as if the dog was guarding an invisible treasure, a secret Nolan couldn't decipher. The mystery only fueled his resolve to help. Nolan's breath formed clouds in the frigid air as he pondered his next move. The dog's persistent refusal to eat or move baffled him. Yet, he felt an unspoken bond, a mechanic's kinship with a creature struggling against the odds. "I'm not giving up on you," he murmured, his voice firm against the howling wind. He knew he had to find another way to help. Nolan's eyes caught a series of faint imprints in the snow near the dog. The tracks, almost hidden under a fresh layer of snowfall, snaked away into the distance. He crouched down, studying them closely. The size and pattern didn't match a human's. These were canine prints. They circled the dog, creating a mysterious pattern. What story did these tracks tell? Nolan's curiosity was piqued. Following the tracks with his gaze, Nolan realized they formed a tight perimeter around the dog. It was as if the dog had been pacing in this very spot, guarding something. But what? The question nagged at him. This wasn't a simple case of a dog lost or abandoned. There was purpose in its presence here, a deliberate choice to stay put despite the biting cold. Nolan observed the dog's posture closely. It sat with a certain stoicism, eyes alert and body tense. Every now and then, its ears would twitch, picking up sounds imperceptible to Nolan. The environment seemed to hold clues that he couldn't quite piece together. Was the dog waiting for someone, or was it something else? The mechanic's mind raced to decipher the signs laid out in the snow. Back in his workshop, Nolan found himself distracted, his thoughts returning to the dog. Why would it choose to stay in one spot, especially in such harsh conditions? He visualized the scene again. The tracks, the dog's behavior, the unyielding stance. Something didn't add up. The dog's motives were a puzzle he couldn't solve, a riddle written in the snow and silence. Nolan concluded that the dog's prolonged stay wasn't random. It was intentional and meaningful. He remembered how it had ignored the food, the way it had reacted to his approach. These weren't the actions of a dog merely stuck or lost. There was something more, a significant reason for its steadfastness. Nolan felt a growing resolve to uncover the truth behind this wintry sentinel's vigil. Braving the biting wind, Nolan approached the dog once more, sandwich in hand. This time, something shifted. The dog's wary eyes softened, and tentatively, it sniffed the air. Nolan extended the sandwich with a hopeful heart. Slowly, the dog edged forward and gently took a bite. Relief washed over Nolan. It was a small step, but a significant one in gaining the dog's trust. As the dog nibbled on the sandwich, Nolan felt a bond forming. The dog's guarded demeanor eased slightly with each bite. This simple act of eating, something so basic yet vital, forged a connection between man and animal. Nolan watched with a mixture of joy and relief in his eyes. The dog's acceptance of food marked a turning point in their interaction, a bridge built with kindness and patience. The dog finished the sandwich, yet it remained firmly in place, unmoving. Nolan's initial elation gave way to renewed curiosity. Why wouldn't the dog leave its spot even after eating? The mystery deepened, wrapping around Nolan's thoughts like the winter's cold embrace. He realized that earning the dog's trust was only the first step in understanding the larger, unspoken story unfolding before him. Encouraged by the dog's acceptance of food, Nolan continued his gentle approach. He talked softly to the dog, offering reassuring words and gestures. Slowly, the dog's tense posture relaxed, its ears less twitchy, its eyes less guarded. Nolan's persistence was paying off. The wall of mistrust was crumbling, brick by brick. He knew that patience and perseverance were key in unraveling the dog's guarded secret. As the dog lay calmly, Nolan felt a sense of accomplishment. This was no ordinary stray. It was a creature with a story, a purpose. Yet its refusal to move, even after eating, puzzled him. What was anchoring it to this spot? Nolan pondered over this as he watched the dog, feeling a mix of triumph and intrigue. The mystery remained, but progress had been made. Nolan stood beside the woman, both peering at the dog from a safe distance. "It's odd, isn't it?" the woman remarked, her voice tinged with worry. "Why won't it move?" Nolan nodded, sharing her concern. They discussed the dog's strange behavior, speculating about its possible intentions. Was it hurt, scared, or something else? The air was thick with unanswered questions, and Nolan felt a deep responsibility to uncover the truth. As they observed the dog, Nolan voiced a theory. "Maybe it's guarding something," he suggested, his brows furrowed in thought. The woman looked at him, her eyes reflecting the possibility. Could the dog be protecting something rather than being stuck? It was a theory yet to be proven, but it made sense given the dog's steadfast refusal to leave its post, even for food. Nolan, with his mechanic's knack for solving puzzles, began to assess the situation from all angles. He thought about the dog's behavior, the tracks in the snow, and its reaction to his presence. Each piece of the puzzle was like a part of an engine, needing to be understood and placed correctly. His mind worked through the possibilities, searching for the missing link in this enigmatic situation. Huddled together in the cold, Nolan and the woman brainstormed ways to further engage with the dog. "Maybe we can try building a shelter around it," the woman suggested. Nolan nodded, considering the idea. They discussed various strategies, each focused on ensuring the dog's safety and comfort. It was a challenging task, but they were determined to help the dog in whatever way they could. Despite their planning and efforts, the dog remained in its place, a silent guardian of the snow-covered spot. Its eyes, though less wary now, still held a protective gaze. Nolan and the woman realized that their efforts, while well-intentioned, weren't enough to sway the dog. It was as if it had a mission, an unwavering commitment to stay put, guarding its unseen charge with steadfast determination. Gradually, Nolan extended his hand towards the dog, his movements slow and deliberate. To his relief, the dog did not bark or growl this time. Instead, it allowed his hand to gently stroke its frosty fur. The touch was a silent acknowledgement of trust, a significant milestone in their growing bond. Nolan's heart warmed, feeling a connection that went beyond words, a silent conversation of trust and understanding. With each gentle pat, Nolan's calm and steady presence seemed to soothe the dog. He spoke in a soft, reassuring tone, words lost to the wind but felt in spirit. The dog's tense body began to relax, its wary gaze softening. This calm approach creates a deeper bond, a mutual understanding between man and animal. In the silence of the snow, a friendship was slowly taking root. As Nolan continued his careful interaction, the dog gradually shifted its position, a subtle sign of growing trust. It allowed him to come closer, reducing the distance between them. This slight movement, though small, was significant. It spoke of the dog's increasing comfort with Nolan's presence. The mechanic felt a surge of hope. They were making progress, step by careful step. While petting the dog, Nolan noticed something unusual. As the dog shifted slightly, a part of the snowy ground beneath it seemed disturbed, different from the surrounding snow. This observation piqued Nolan's curiosity. What was beneath the dog that it seemed so intent on covering? The mystery deepened, and Nolan knew he needed to investigate further, cautiously and respectfully. Alarmed by this new discovery, Nolan knew he needed help. He carefully stood up, keeping his eyes on the dog, and pulled out his phone with numbed fingers. Dialing 911, he explained the situation with urgency. Assistance was needed, and quickly. As he spoke into the phone, Nolan's mind raced with possibilities of what could be concealed beneath the dog in the snow. Nolan knelt beside the dog again, trying to peer beneath it without startling it. The dog, sensing his intent, shifted slightly but remained firmly in place, its gaze watchful and protective. Nolan's curiosity was tinged with frustration. He was so close to understanding, yet still so far. The dog's vigilance was unwavering, a clear sign that whatever it was guarding was of great importance to it. Nolan and the woman stood together in the falling snow, their eyes fixed on the dog. They spoke little, the weight of the situation hanging heavy in the air. Nolan checked his watch repeatedly, each minute stretching longer than the last. They both knew that time was crucial, and the wait for help felt interminable. The cold was biting, but their concern for the dog kept them rooted in place. The sound of sirens cut through the silence, a welcome relief to Nolan and the woman. Soon, a 911 vehicle pulled up, its lights flashing in the grey winter afternoon. Responders quickly disembarked, approaching with a mix of caution and urgency. Nolan briefed them on the situation, his voice urgent. The professionals nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation and prepared to assess the scene. The responders approached the dog, their movements measured and professional. They attempted to coax the dog away from its spot, using gentle words and gestures. As they did, Nolan caught a glimpse of something beneath the dog, a hint of something obscured by the snow. His heart raced with both concern and anticipation. What secret was the dog so determined to protect? As one of the responders gently nudged the dog, they all caught sight of something beneath it. A collective gasp escaped from the group, a sound of surprise and sudden understanding. Nolan's eyes widened in realization, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. The situation was becoming clearer, and with it, the urgency of their mission increased. What they saw demanded immediate and careful attention. With gentle hands and careful movements, the officers and Nolan began to clear the snow around the dog. The dog watched, its eyes filled with apprehension, yet a certain trust. As the snow was brushed away, an outline began to emerge, something hidden beneath the white blanket. Nolan's heart pounded with anticipation. They were on the verge of uncovering the guarded secret. As more snow was removed, a small, carefully crafted den was revealed under the dog. The structure was modest, a hollow carved out of the snow, yet it was clear that it had been purposefully made. Nolan and the responders looked at each other, their faces a mix of wonder and curiosity. This den was a haven, a shelter from the harsh elements, crafted with intention. Peering into the den, they saw something nestled inside, something significant yet not fully visible. The dog's protective stance made more sense now. It was guarding this hidden treasure with unwavering commitment. The mystery of the dog's behavior was gradually unfolding, revealing a story deeper and more touching than Nolan had initially imagined. The realization slowly dawned on Nolan and the team that the dog had been guarding something precious, something worth braving the cold and hunger. The dog's maternal instincts had kicked in, a powerful force that drove it to protect at all costs. Nolan's respect for the animal grew, understanding the depth of its commitment and the strength of its instincts. As they uncovered more of the den, it became clear that the dog was not just a stray caught in a bad situation. It was a mother, a guardian fiercely protecting its charge. This revelation shifted the entire narrative. What was once a rescue mission had become a story of maternal dedication and sacrifice. The dog's resolve was a testament to nature's powerful bond. Carefully, the team worked around the dog and the den, ensuring not to disturb its occupant any more than necessary. Their movements were gentle, their voices soothing. The dog, sensing their intent to help, relaxed slightly, though its protective gaze never waned. The priority was clear: to safely relocate the dog and its hidden charge to a place of safety and warmth. Nolan, struck by inspiration, offered his workshop as a temporary shelter. He knew it wasn't much, but it was warm, dry, and safe, everything the dog and its charge needed. As he hurried back to his workshop, he began mentally preparing for their arrival, determined to make it as comfortable as possible. This workshop, a place of repair and restoration, was about to serve a new, noble purpose. Inside the workshop, Nolan swiftly cleared a space, laying down blankets and setting up a warm, secluded corner. He adjusted the heater, ensuring the temperature was just right. Every action was taken with care and consideration, creating a sanctuary within the confines of his humble workshop. It was a simple space, but filled with warmth and the promise of safety for its soon-to-arrive guests. The initial customer, moved by the situation, stepped in to assist. She helped Nolan arrange the blankets and brought in a bowl of water and some dog food. Her hands, though unaccustomed to such tasks, moved with purpose and kindness. Together, they transformed the workshop, their joint efforts a testament to the spontaneous compassion that had brought them together on this extraordinary day. The workshop had transformed into a warm refuge, a stark contrast to the cold, unforgiving world outside its walls. As they finished their preparations, Nolan and the woman stepped back, looking at the cozy space they had created. The mystery of the dog's charge, hidden under the snow in a makeshift den, was about to be revealed, but for now, they had ensured a safe harbour in the storm. As Nolan and the officers carefully moved the mother dog, a heart-warming sight unfolded. A litter of newborn puppies nestled in the den. The puppies, tiny and vulnerable, were the treasure the mother dog had so fiercely protected. Their tiny whimpers filled the air, a melody of new life. Nolan's eyes filled with wonder and awe at this discovery. The mystery had been a miracle of life. Nolan stood back, watching the mother dog nuzzle her puppies. He reflected on the day's events, from a concerned call to this miraculous discovery. It was the mother's protective instincts, coupled with his and the woman's kindness, that had led to this moment. The power of compassion had turned a simple act of helping a stray into a life-saving endeavour. It was a profound lesson in empathy and care. Word of the puppy rescue quickly spread through the community, touching the hearts of many. People came forward, offering blankets, food, and support. Some brought toys for the puppies, while others offered to help with their care. The workshop turned into a hub of community activity, with neighbours uniting to lend a hand. It was a spontaneous and heartening response, showcasing the community's capacity for kindness. The event brought the community together in a unique way. People who were mere strangers yesterday worked side by side, united by a common purpose. The atmosphere was one of warmth and cooperation, with everyone contributing what they could. This unity, born out of compassion for a mother dog and her puppies, was a beautiful display of human empathy and solidarity. The collective effort to care for the canine family was a testament to the community's warmth and cooperation. The workshop buzzed with activity, filled with laughter and chatter as people came and went. Each person's contribution, no matter how small, added to the tapestry of care woven around the mother dog and her puppies. It was a heartwarming example of what can be achieved when a community comes together in cooperation and kindness. As the day neared its end, Nolan stood in his workshop, now a makeshift nursery, lost in thought. He marveled at how the day's events had unfolded, from a routine morning to a life-saving discovery. Each moment was a surprise, a turn in a journey he never expected to take. It was a day that started with simple curiosity and ended with an extraordinary revelation. Reflecting on the day, Nolan realized the profound impact of a single decision. His choice to help a stranded dog had rippled outwards, touching the lives of many. It was a small act of kindness that grew into something much larger, affecting not just him, but the entire community. This experience underscored how one simple, compassionate act could lead to significant, heartwarming outcomes. The outpouring of support from the community was overwhelming. People from all walks of life had come together, each contributing in their own way. This unity, sparked by a shared concern for the vulnerable, had created a warm, supportive network. Nolan felt a deep appreciation for his community. Their collective compassion and willingness to help were truly heartening. The day's events had taught Nolan valuable lessons about empathy and kindness. He realized the importance of being open-hearted and the impact it could have. These lessons went beyond just helping animals. They were about connecting with others, understanding their struggles, and extending a helping hand. It was a reminder of the fundamental goodness inherent in people and the power of compassion. As Nolan locked up his workshop that night, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment and gratitude. He looked back at the warm space where the mother dog and her puppies lay, now safe and cared for. The day had been an unexpected journey, but it ended with a feeling of contentment and hope. It was a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary days could lead to the most extraordinary stories.